Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Long Game, where we demystify the science that shapes our lives and unpack how great ideas built here in Scotland become real-world medicines, devices, and companies at the cutting edge of life sciences. I'm Ross Cagan, Regis Professor of Precision Medicine at the University of Glasgow and Director of the McNabb Center for Cancer Innovation.
And hi, I'm Sandy Weir, Tech Innovation Leader and Strategic Program Manager, joining you as usual from Edinburgh, Ross. Hi there, welcome back everybody to this episode of our podcast, The BioFounders Playbook. I'm here to introduce this session because we split this episode into two parts. As Ross explained at the end of part A in the last podcast, we had quite a lot of material they wanted to cover in this area, and we decided to present this over 2 episodes. So today we're going to dive right back in. We're going to look a little bit at the dynamics of the market and then end with some really powerful suggestions and advice for putting together your pitch deck. So we hope you enjoy this episode. Thank you. So I guess that that kind of brings us on to accelerators, and I guess we use the word loosely, but the best accelerators can really help companies become investable and not just busier. So Ross, you've got fantastic experience here from P4. So tell us a little bit about what accelerators are actually looking for.
Yeah, and again, I am CSO, Chief Scientific Officer, P4, just to declare that again. And I really did this because I thought it was a great way to establish a pipeline of knowledge and information, both to myself for the UK as I moved here, but also for Glasgow. And I think you and I have talked a lot about this, and it couldn't have been better. Nathan McNally is just absolutely amazing. If we don't have him on soon, I would be disappointed. So P4, as it says in the name, it's focused on precision medicine. So we're interested in companies that develop medical devices, diagnostics, digital health tools. But I would say that most of them are data-driven and, importantly, have a credible route into healthcare. And I would say probably the single biggest conversation we have when we have companies present is, what is the route that you're going to take to actually get this all the way through to the patient? And the point here is not just to give you a badge, okay? The point is to, and Nathan is amazing at this, to identify people that can help you out, to surround the company with the right expertise, because if P4 is going to invest in that company, and they'll tend to invest quite early, they want the company to succeed. So they give them expertise, regulatory, clinical, data science. We've had these conversations constantly, commercialization, even investment. So Nathan will go identify a basket of investors and practical support to basically move your little company from just technology to actually getting it to adoption.
Yeah, that sounds like a really amazing and positive experience. But who would be too early for P4?
Oh, that's easy. If you just have an idea, and there's a lot of that. So, we're not looking for, 2 people in a concept, although you and I could, too bad, because you and I could get running with that. So to benefit, it really, we just talked about this. It really helps if you already have some seed or grant funding already. So somebody to validate you gets you in the door, because you may say, well, that's not fair. But first of all, life's not fair. And secondly, there are a lot of companies that P4 seeds and only a small percentage that they can, support. So you want to have a credible team of multiple people with complementary expertise. You want to have evidence that you actually do understand the route to market. So there is ways to understand this now, and you should have done your homework and not just walked in the door saying, I have this great idea and I've done no investigation on, we've seen this. On the flip side, if you've already closed a Series B, you're probably way too big for P4. The point of them is to nurture young companies. So we're really talking early to mid stage. But as they say it all the time in P4, you got to be a real company. Got to be real.
Yeah. I think that's really clear guidance. What do you mean by real in this context?
No, I was just trying to be dramatic.
Yeah.
No, but what I mean is real is, can you Can you answer some practical questions? So, who is your customer? All right.
Yeah,
Who's going to buy this thing? It's amazing, amazing how we hear, oh, this is such a great idea. This is better than anything ever before. And then we said, okay, so what's the market like? And they have no idea. They just say, oh, it's a $10 billion market. It's like, yeah, but why are they going to stop doing what they do that they know works
yeah,
and use your thing? And that's always a kicker. So what clinical problem exactly are you solving? And why is it so compelling that they will change the structure of what they do? What's the data that you need, right? What's the regulatory path that you need? Who's going to pay for this? What's the reimbursement logic? So will insurance companies pay for it? Will the NHS pay for it? They have very different needs, and it's really important that you understand what that looks like. Um, and the other question is, why is now the right time to do it? So maybe this was a great idea a few years ago, or maybe it will be a great idea someday, but you're coming in a bit early. Um, so, and also, P4 is basically plenty of scientists, including myself, in there. So data science matters. So you can have AI, for example, involved, but it can't just be a decorative thing. I know that everybody's tacking AI into their name of their companies now. I got it. But as Wayne Gretzky said, you don't skate to where the puck is, you skate to where it's gonna be. If you don't know who Wayne Gretzky is, he's obviously a hockey player. So if you're just using AI to fancy up things, that's not enough. There has to be a compelling reason why AI is distinguishing you.
yeah, yeah, exactly. AI is fashionable. Actually, I'm going to come back to something you said that I thought was really, really important, particularly for healthcare, health tech, biotech. You said you've got to understand who the user is and you've got to understand who the buyer is. And that's something that's uniquely different or differential in health tech, biotech. The user, i.e., the clinician, the radiologist, whoever the user is very, very rarely the person that signs the check, that makes the procurement decision, that brings your product into that space. They will have influence, but they're not the buyer. So that's a really important, a real nugget there that I really wanted
Yeah.
to emphasize. But you mentioned, you mentioned the AI term. And I guess that's yeah, that's super fashionable these days. And I think what you were doing is you were really emphasizing the difference between a startup that says they use AI and a startup that just says AI in their proposal, their offer.
Yeah, no, 100%. I cannot emphasize the AI mania right now amongst
Yes.
not just investors, but in companies, because there's a thing going around that you can't get investment without AI tacked in there. I would say AI is a powerful tool and you should not understand how to use it, but just saying AI, that we've already passed over that now. So
Mhm.
that era just ended about 6 months ago. So what you want to do is you want to build something clinically useful. It's validated, safe, regulated, and people want to adopt it. And doing all of those is difficult. And you want to be, when you walk in the door and we have a conversation, you want to be sophisticated about your discussion about those.
So you've heard a few of these pitches, Ross, and so in your experience, what's the biggest mistake that these young companies make when pitching to an accelerator or an early investor?
Yeah, no, that is easy, and it's because the person confuses scientific excitement, scientific coolness with investability. Okay,
Mm.
sometimes the most boring thing is the one that's going to actually do well. So you can't conflate how cool the science is and how amazing it is with how marketable it is. Those are actually not particularly related to each other. So I may love this science, I may believe in the biology, but maybe the product is not easily built. Maybe it's difficult to protect for IP reasons. Maybe regulation is difficult. And most importantly, you better make sure somebody's going to be willing to pay and adopt it. Disrupting healthcare flow is you have to have a really compelling reason. They're not just going to turn it over because it's going to give them an incremental benefit.
Yeah, I think this is a really good discipline to understand. And if I can summarize what you're saying, Ross, I think you're saying that the science is asking, is this true? The business is asking, can this become a product? And the investment is asking, can this become a viable and valuable company?
Yeah, no, totally. And when you walk in the door, if you're a good founder, you have an answer to all three of those for sure.
Mm. Okay, so let's kind of finish up this session with looking at what happens when you need to. I know it's incredible to think about this and why would this ever happen, but when you need to go beyond Scotland, Ross. So let's think about the global question. So Scotland can help get the company started and get it off the ground, and we feel like we've got a really powerful environment for supporting that. But when does a founder need to look outside of Scotland?
Yeah, my experience in being here and looking at my friends and colleagues who have been successful is they actually start that searching pretty early. So not necessarily the first check that will typically come from here, and that's because you're so early that there'll be other motivations, like we want the company to be here, and so we'll take a higher risk for you. Scotland is, of course, amazing for science. It genuinely is. That's why I moved here. Um, it's very good in early formation of companies. So there's a lot of resources here and support. The public is all behind it. There's angels here. There are definitely some specialist funds for some of the things that various things that you're doing. But as again, you know really well, Sandy, life science can become very capital intensive pretty quickly. So if you, especially if you're heading towards major clinical trials, if you have to do manufacturing and you have to scale that up, if you want to do even just international patents, you want to commercialize internationally, um, that amount of money is probably going to exceed what the Scottish market is going to provide to you. And so at some point, usually I would say Series A, for sure Series B, you're going to start to engage throughout the UK, start to look into Europe or US funds.
Mm.
Um, and you want to start building those relationships early. And my friends who have been successful in managing that have done exactly that. They built those relationships early.
And it's important, Ross, that we shouldn't see that as a point of failure.
Oh, no, 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 not at all. That it's actually the point. So
Mm.
a Scottish company that has global ambition is going to have to speak to global capital. That's kind of how it's done everywhere.
Yeah, and there are funds that sit between these worlds. So Epiderics Capital, I believe that's a really good example, a transatlantic life science investor with roots in Scotland and the US, which focuses on early stage company creation and kind of really supporting that breakthrough for life sciences company and filling that gap that you're just describing.
Yeah, and actually, Epiderics is one of the first. They're actually great, and they're one of the first people I chatted to when I came to Scotland and was trying to gauge, biotech here. This sort of investor, they can be very useful. They understand both sides. Look, they want you to succeed. Okay, there's no ego behind that. They understand academic science. I mean, Epiderics is very impressive for that. They understand eventually what venture scaling will require. They understand Scotland quite well. But of course, a company like Epiderics or a fund like Epiderics, they are international. So they will, of course, consider bringing in the US, the wider US market, and so on, because they just have feet in all of those. So actually, Epiderics is a really good example of someone that you want to connect with.
Yeah, and I think importantly, I guess the overall aim here is not that we keep every pound in Scotland. The aim is to try and use Scotland as a launch pad. And if I might just also add that, I think one of the things that we see is, that companies that do get off the ground here and do start to become successful and do start to achieve the sort of Series A, Series B funding. I think the disappointing thing is that we often see them also making that geographic shift. So a lot of them end up moving to North America because that's where they want to continue to grow and sustain the business. I think the challenge that we have is, how we support this ecosystem, but we trying to retain the companies here. So use it as a launch pad, but then also try to provide the support that means that it's still valuable to be here, even although your global market is maybe looking at different directions outside of Scotland.
Sure. And this, of course, is a key point. I do
Mm,
think that as the Scottish biotech infrastructure matures, that there'll be more and more reason to keep it here. The reason, I think I probably know some of the examples you're talking about. The reason
mm,
that this happens is because if the investors are there, the primary investors, then they want you to be nearby. Also, maybe you want to be around other companies like that. And that's what I mean by like you. So that's
mm,
what I mean by as more and more companies build up here, there's going to be more and more of a, not just for you to want to keep your company here, but your investors to be happy for you to keep the company here. So this is a virtuous cycle,
mm,
and we need to make sure that we get properly on that cycle. Um, and then those pieces will fall into place.
mm. So you've got great experience in this area. Again, Ross, we're going to lean into that once again. So what should a founder have before they goes to those larger funds that we're describing?
Sure. And I should say we're this is going to be a longer episode. I hope everybody's cool with that. This is
Yeah,
a really complicated and important
it's
topic, and
complicated.
we just want to make sure that we discuss this properly.
Mm,
So, yeah. So what do you need? You need a clear product. Okay, that's important. You need a good, strong, credible team. Very importantly, you need to have protected your IP, but you wouldn't have gotten that far if you hadn't.
mm,
You need good data. You have a good early validation that this thing is going to actually work. As we keep talking about, you need a good regulatory plan. It's so important to show that you're savvy about this. And not just a market, but a believable market, and a specific use of funds. So don't go to a major VC saying, we have great science. Go saying, here's the company we're building. Here is the risk that we are reducing. Here's the milestone that your round would buy. And here's why this can become larger. So you really want to come in with that mindset.
and that is the playbook, Ross.
Yeah, well, and I should say, um, don't go to them saying, "And your money is validation." That is not the that's not the sort of mindset that you walk in,
Yeah,
you know?
and that'll upset some founders, I guess.
Yeah, it'll definitely annoy them. So, and it should. I mean, raising money is useful, but it's not the goal. The goal is to build something that works, to build something that matters, to build something that helps patients and can survive going through the regulators, the clinicians, the payers, and the markets.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. That is exactly the motivation. In other words, we shouldn't confuse the check, the funding with the company and what the company is trying to achieve.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I think you said that
Mm.
exactly right.
So I mean I think yeah. So you said it's a little bit longer episode than we normally do, but it's a complicated landscape. So let's try and pull that map together as a kind of final piece then. So if you're still in university and you use the environment properly, you'll be able to kind of build the protection of your IP. You'll be able to build your evidence. You'll be able to use that proof of concept for support. And then I guess the important thing is don't form a company just because it sounds exciting. Do it because you've got something in your hands that can really make a difference and really change the lives of customers and patients.
Yeah, no, totally. And once you do pull the trigger and the company's real and you have some of this, non-dilutive funding, you can use that to reduce the technical risk. So
Mm.
this is Scottish Enterprise and other agencies like them. They can be quite useful. Um, but yeah, you want to check what's live and what stage it supports.
Yeah, and use angel money when it brings relevant experience and expertise, and use that sort of patient long-term capital to support good behavior. And however, avoid it when the terms are messy or the investors don't demonstrate that they fully understand the life sciences sector.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can use accelerators like P4 when you're ready, when you're investor ready, when you're clinically credible and you have your commercial ducks lined up.
Exactly. And when the company is kind of outgrown that local capital pool, don't be parochial, go to London, start, look at Europe, Boston, San Francisco, look at the Far East, look at Singapore, wherever the money is right and the expertise exists. That's the next place to go.
Yeah, but Sandy, go prepared. Okay. A good investor meeting is not a fishing expedition. You have to have control of your numbers. It's a test of whether you really understand the company that you're building.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, I made it sound too much like a fishing trip, I think. And the Scottish Founders Playbook is not raise as much as you can, as early as you can, Ross.
Yeah, it is use each source of money for the right purpose. I hope we've been super clear about this. Use it at the right purpose. You use each one at the right stage. And of course, you use it with the right people in your company as it matures.
Exactly. And keep control of your story.
Yeah, that is key because in life sciences, the story really has to connect the science, the patient, the product, also the capital. And if any of these are missing, then your company will struggle.
Yeah. And that brings us to the end of our two-part Founders Playbook, I think, Ross.
Yeah, we went on a little bit, but I think I, I hate to say it, I think we did a pretty decent job of actually walking through this. So I hope people, find this useful. Um, we've covered the language of funding and also the map of how to raise it in Scotland, which is a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've done a reasonably good job. And if you're a founder and you're listening to this, I guess the simple message that we want to take you to take away is that Scotland can help you to start, but you still have to build a company that deserves the money.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's probably time for a wee bit of joy now. Shall we pivot slightly, Ross, and take a step off the kind of the commercial treadmill, and then think about a little bit about what's been lighting us up in the past week.
Yeah. And I'm gonna do a little bit of a sort of a, I don't know if intense is the right word, but not something that I feel a little more emotional about because a couple weeks ago, my wife and I went to Nigeria, specifically Ibadan. It's a large city north of Lagos, which is a very large city. And we went there to teach in a workshop on how to use a fruit fly, Drosophila, to study cancer. And I had been working with the guy who built this center, the Drosophila Research and Teaching Center, Amos Abalaji. And he built this thing in Ibadan. It's absolutely amazing what he's built. It's a long-term scientific infrastructure. And building these things is difficult anywhere.
Mm.
But in southern Nigeria, it's really difficult. Nigeria energy is big, but infrastructure is pretty shaky. And look, I've only been there a week. I don't want to disrespect a country that I've only popped in for a week, but I've had a number of conversations. It is not trivial to build these sorts of things there. Logistics can be pretty chaotic. And so you really have a lot of obstacles there. But my wee bit of joy is that none of that had really slowed the students that we taught in any way. And I mean this sincerely, not in any just sort of obvious way. So these students were awesome. They're all at our masters, PhD. Some of them were professors. They were selected as the best of the best from a large pool of applicants, all of this. They were phenomenal. They were pretty intense, but they were funny. I loved them. They were very curious. They were completely engaged. Like doing this for a week in science that they were 100% completely engaged. They were basically question machines. They wanted to know how the system worked. They wanted to know how the genetics worked, how you move from a fly model to human, and why this would matter for patients in Nigeria. And actually, Amos and I, I'm pretty sure know, we have a long-standing project for addressing colorectal cancer in Nigeria. And that's the deeper reason that we were there. So, we have this ongoing project, and we need the next generation of scientists to really take this mantle in Nigeria and run with it. So in the workshop, you could feel the passion and the drive of these students. You could just feel it. They want to be to have a big part of basically moving Nigeria forward. It's a very interesting country. So I've been doing this science thing for decades now, and you can get a little burned out on it. I've been incredibly privileged. I mean that sincerely. I've had all sorts of mentors who have taught me. They've protected me, they've challenged me, and they've definitely opened doors for me. And now I'm at the stage of my career when I'm hoping to pass some of that on. So I get to download wisdom. I'm an old man now. It's kind of awesome, actually. And so I get to impart this great wisdom that others have given to me. But what I'm actually doing is stealing energy back from these students. You know, they're just the intensity, the joy was completely infectious. I came back to my group here. I'm like, hey guys, it's time we really get going here. We got to work harder because I just saw people that really are driven on this. And all these students, and then I'll stop. All these students, of course, they just want what we want. Everybody is a human being. I know that's a radical thing to say these days. They want to do something that they love. They want to do something that matters, and they want to feel that they matter. They want to put their mark on the world. And, we're hoping to open a path for them to do that. Incidentally, side note, Nigeria can actually be very magical. We met an incredible artist, Nike. I love her art. I'll put some images up on it. We actually got to sit down and yak with her for an hour because she's got a gallery in Lagos. And she just had a show at the Tate. And, somehow we're just yakking with her for like an hour. She's giving us like bracelets and stuff. She signed a biography and gave it to us. So completely love it. So my wee bit of joy is shout out to the students in Ibadan, shout out to Amos, shout out to the Drosophila Research and Teaching Center, and definitely had the feeling that I had met the future of science. What do you think, Sandy?
Wow. I mean, that's truly awesome story. And I love the way, Ross, that you are providing that inspiration and that experience and sharing that with this group. But also that you're getting, a huge amount back in terms of that energy that's providing you. And then you're channeling that back through your team. But I would have been really, really disappointed if you'd visited Ibadan and you hadn't found some amazing artistry that was being done there,
Yeah,
some
that's our thing.
incredible art
Yeah.
that, and so, yeah, that sounds like a super trip. I mean, you
Can I just
crammed a
say,
lot in. You crammed a
yeah, can I
lot in.
say very quickly, I know this episode's running. We actually, the last day we were there, we were wandering around, very long story short, we kind of wandered into an artist colony of young men doing art. They were art students, and they were doing it outside. And I'll put some pictures up there. They were amazing, and they were
Mm.
just so into it. It was kind of magical.
That sounds really uplifting. And I'm gonna tell
Yeah.
you
What about you, Sandy?
I'm gonna tell you my wee bit of joy, which feels so shallow now.
Oh, come on. Give me a break.
Well, ready. I'm ready to get back to one of the topics that we both love, Ross, and that's golf. So it's time for
That's never
me.
shallow.
It's time for me once again for me to do my bit for Scottish Golf and the Scottish Tourist Board. Um, so it was my son's birthday recently, and we asked Malcolm what he was looking for his birthday, and we really wanted to play golf somewhere special. So we took a trip over from Edinburgh to Mullaghtyre on Sunday, and I think you've played this course as well. So Machrihanish Dunes. It's
Yeah, amazing.
incredible course. It's a long drive from Edinburgh. It's about 4 hours, well, 3 hours 40 minutes or something like that.
Mhm.
So long way, but it was so worth it. It was absolutely fabulous. This is an incredible golf course, as you know, Ross. It's a stunning location.
Oh, so beautiful.
And of course, I think probably what made it even better for us is the weather. Because we talked a little bit at the start of the show about the weather here at the moment. We've had this long period, very dry, very sunny weather. And I mean, it couldn't have looked better. Completely blue skies, hardly any wind. So in theory, I should have got a really good score. I'm not going to talk about that. But the thing is that it wasn't. The golf was great, but it was the location that was magical. And it's said to be the world's most natural golf course, and it sits on this bay. So it's a 5 kilometer stretch of beach, beautiful yellow white sand stretching away. You've got the mighty Atlantic providing, kind of dramatic backdrop. And I think the really inspiring thing is that the course has been built with the goal of providing the lightest touch possible on the landscape. So it's been created in this area of special scientific interest. It's a very kind of fragile coastal environment, very pristine dunes. And in order to preserve the kind of natural beauty of the site, the course has been, built and maintained, as I say, with this lightest touch possible. So as you play the course, you'll encounter these amazing Hebridean black sheep. Sorry, I got to get my prop at this point. I couldn't resist.
Oh, no way!
I couldn't resist picking this up at
Oh,
the shop at the end.
that is so great.
No, the black sheep. So these are
I
quite
love it.
iconic. I'll have to put a picture up because and unless you've seen these sheep, they're really quite majestic as sheep go. And they use these.
The key phrase was "as sheep go."
Sheep go, and they use these sheep to kind of graze and to keep some of the kind of fescue and the kind of longer grass in check. But we're playing on the second, and these sheep are in the distance, and it looks like you're gonna hit them with your drive, but they just couldn't care less. They don't even bat an eyelid. They're quite amazing. They're very
That's so
chilled.
great.
So we had an amazing day. As I say, the weather was perfect, blue sky, incredible views. And again, I'll stick a couple of pictures up out towards Isla and Gia and Jura, across the sound of Jura. That's the kind of the sea that sits between the islands and the Mull of Kintyre where we were. The course was really quiet, so it kind of felt like we had the place to ourselves. It was really joyous, Ross. It really was great. So here's the really interesting part. I learned afterwards, because I thought, wow, how come I just don't know about this place? Or how come I don't know the story? And it seems like they received a Golf Environment Organization certificate for their efforts to manage the practices. They don't use fertilizers and sort of weed control. So they're very eco-friendly, and they achieve these, what they call these comprehensive levels of eco application, and in terms of how they manage the environment there. And it seems that the Macronish Dunes were the first 18-hole golf course in the UK to achieve this, and it's a very, very prestigious certificate. So if you love golf and you're looking for something that's truly exceptional as a location and experience, I really recommend that you go check it out. And I'm so pleased that you've played there, Ross, and you know exactly what I'm describing, so that we both understand how special this is.
It really brings an incredible meaning to the word walkabout. I feel like it was just like walking through the wilds there, and occasionally hitting a golf ball. It's the first hole. There's two courses: the Macronish Dunes and Macronish. And the first hole one, I think it's Macrahonish, is often cited as possibly the most beautiful hole one in the world,
right,
where you actually hit the ball over the inlet from the Atlantic Ocean.
That's right.
It's pretty wild. Yeah. Thank you for that. I did love that course. So amazing.
Oh, I'd love to go back, actually. So maybe if you're up for it sometime, we should take a trip out there.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Sandy, afraid I'd love to hear more, but this is it. Thanks, everybody, for listening to our long game.
Yeah, thanks. And if you're a founder, get that pitch deck ready. We've given you that practical map, and we've piled in a whole bunch of experience, and you've learned a whole bunch of new jargon that will help you kind of navigate this environment. So good luck to you, and I hope this has been helpful.
Absolutely. Getting those phrases right. And Sandy, I just want to remind you, you can subscribe on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. So don't miss the next episode, Sandy.
Yep. And until the next time, as you say, Ross, keep the heat.
That's right. And I'm so jealous of that hat. Good luck. And everybody, good luck playing the long game. Love that hat. Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, see the vision clear. We're here to run the long game. Blueprint set, no fear. Playing out the long game, the long game.